Welcome to a chilling 4th of July edition of our strange, dark, and mysterious stories. While most celebrate with fireworks and parades, tonight we explore the shadows that linger after the last spark fades. These are 3 true accounts of terror that unfolded on what should have been a day of joy. Even on our brightest days, darkness can be lurking just at the edge of the firelight. For the full effect, turn on closed captions. We've set them to a special font for this video. Let's begin with our first story, the Phantom Fireworks Incident. On a recent 4th of July in the heart of the rural Midwest, 4 close friends, Jake, Liam, Chloe, and Maya, decided to escape the crowds and city lights for a night of their own making. They loaded up their pickup truck with boxes of fireworks, snacks, and a cooler, and drove out to a remote cornfield miles from the nearest house. The field, surrounded by endless rows of tall, whispering corn, seemed like the perfect place for a private celebration, far from prying eyes and noise ordinances. The night was perfect. An endless open sky stretched above them, scattered with stars. The air was warm, filled with the scent of earth and corn, and the only sounds were their laughter and the distant chirping of crickets. There was a sense of freedom, a thrill in being alone together, surrounded by nothing but nature and the promise of their own fireworks show. As the first fireworks soared and burst in brilliant colors overhead, the friends cheered, their faces lit by the glow. But as the echoes faded, a strange rhythmic shuffling sound began to rise from deep within the corn. It was subtle at first, almost lost beneath the crackle of fireworks, but soon it became impossible to ignore, a steady, unnatural drag. Scrape, drag, scrape. Jake tried to laugh it off, suggesting it was probably just a raccoon or a deer moving through the stalks, but the others exchanged uneasy glances. The sound didn't match any animal they knew. It was too deliberate, too slow, as if something or someone was moving with purpose, just out of sight. Determined to prove there was nothing to fear, Jake grabbed a flashlight and stepped toward the edge of the corn, calling out into the darkness. The beam of light cut through the stalks but revealed nothing. Suddenly, the shuffling stopped, replaced by a heavy, unnatural silence that seemed to press in from all sides. Even the crickets fell quiet. Without warning, a single sickly green firework shot up from somewhere deep within the corn, not from their pile, but from the darkness itself. It exploded overhead, casting eerie shifting shadows across the field and bathing the corn in an unnatural glow. The friends froze, realizing that they were not alone. The dragging sound returned, but now it was frantic, moving away from them, deeper into the corn. It was as if whatever was out there had been startled, or perhaps it was trying to lure them in. The friends' hearts pounded as they realized the situation was no longer just a spooky story. It was real, and it was happening to them. Instinct took over. Without a word, the friends began grabbing their things, shoving fireworks and bags into the truck as quickly as they could. The sense of fun had vanished, replaced by a primal urge to get away. They didn't dare look back, afraid of what they might see. As they sped down the dirt road, the truck's headlights swept across the edge of the cornfield. For a brief, chilling moment, they caught sight of a gaunt, elongated figure standing at the field's edge, dragging something long and dark behind it. The figure paused, turning its head toward the fleeing truck, its features lost in shadow. It wasn't quite human. Its proportions were off, its movements too fluid and silent. It stood there watching them go, a silent sentinel in the night. The image of that wrong, watching silhouette burned itself into their memories, impossible to forget. They left behind their fireworks, their snacks, and any desire to ever return. The field that had promised freedom and fun had become a place of fear, a memory they would carry with them forever. The cornfield, once a symbol of summer adventure, was now a place they'd never dare visit again. Even in daylight, the memory of that night lingered, casting a shadow over their thoughts. Sometimes, it seems, the darkness itself finds a way to celebrate, reminding us that not all things in the night are meant for joy. Some are meant to warn, to unsettle, to remind us of the unknown. The friends never spoke of that night again, not even to each other. But every 4th of July, as the distant sound of fireworks echoes across the fields, each of them remembers. The memory returns unbidden, as vivid as the night it happened, and they wonder if anyone else has seen the green firework, or heard the dragging sound in the corn. Some places are meant to be left alone, especially when the night feels too quiet and the air grows heavy with secrets. The cornfield stands empty, but the feeling of being watched never quite fades. The phantom fireworks incident remains a mystery, one that still haunts the edges of that cornfield. Locals whisper about strange lights and sounds, but no one dares investigate after dark. The story has become a warning, passed quietly from one generation to the next. And if you ever find yourself alone in the dark, far from the safety of home, listen closely. You might hear it too, the drag, scrape, drag, scrape, echoing through the corn, reminding you that some mysteries are better left unsolved. Not all fireworks are meant to be seen. Some are warnings, flickering in the night to remind us that the unknown is always closer than we think, waiting just beyond the edge of the light. Our next story takes us deep into the shadowy forests of the Pacific Northwest, on the night of July 4, 2011. A place where the trees stand ancient and silent, and the mist seems to swallow all sound. It's a region known for its beauty, but also for its secrets. The Miller family, Tom, Sarah, and their two children, Emily and Josh, had chosen to spend the holiday far from the noise of the city. They set up camp in a remote corner of a national forest, miles from the nearest road, eager for a weekend of peace, adventure, and togetherness beneath the towering pines. As dusk settled and the forest grew darker, the family gathered around their campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories. But as the last light faded, an eerie, high-pitched metallic whine began to circle their campsite, echoing through the trees. The sound was unnatural, almost mechanical, and it sent a chill through the group. They tried to brush it off as the wind or perhaps an animal, but unease lingered. Later that night, as they lay in their tent, a blinding flash of white light suddenly illuminated everything, so bright it seemed to turn night into day. There was no thunder, no storm, just a heavy, unnatural silence pressing in from all sides. Tom, heart pounding, unzipped the tent and peered outside. All he saw were the moonlit trees standing still and silent, as if the entire forest was holding its breath. Suddenly, the strange metallic whine returned, louder than before, and was joined by a deep, vibrating hum that seemed to rise from the earth itself. The ground trembled beneath them, and the campfire flickered wildly, casting distorted shadows across the trees. The children woke, terrified, clutching their sleeping bags as the tent pulsed with an otherworldly light. The humming grew so intense it rattled their bones, making it impossible to think of anything but escape. Realizing they couldn't stay, Tom whispered urgently to his family. They scrambled to gather their things, hearts racing, as the strange lights and sounds seemed to close in around them. They dashed to their SUV, desperate to leave, but when Tom turned the key, nothing happened. The engine was dead, the dashboard dark. Every electronic device had gone completely lifeless, as if drained by some invisible force. Suddenly, another blinding flash lit up the clearing. In that instant, they saw them. 3 impossibly tall, faceless figures standing where their tent had been. Their bodies were thin and elongated, their movements eerily still, as if they were watching, waiting, or perhaps deciding. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the lights and sounds vanished. The forest was plunged into a deep, unnatural silence, broken only by the family's ragged breathing. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours, before the SUV's dashboard lights suddenly flickered back to life. The engine roared, headlights cutting through the darkness. Relief washed over the Millers, but fear still gripped their hearts. Without a word, Tom floored the gas pedal. They sped down the winding forest road, headlights bouncing over roots and rocks, never daring to look back at the place where the impossible had happened. That night changed the Millers forever. They never spoke of what they saw, not to friends, not to each other. But every 4th of July, as fireworks burst in the sky, their eyes would meet, haunted by memories of a different kind of light. The forest, ancient and inscrutable, had revealed something to them, something that defied explanation, something that felt older than the trees themselves. It was as if the woods had whispered a secret meant only for those who dared to trespass too deeply. Some say the woods are alive, that they remember every footstep, every intrusion. Sometimes they want to be left alone. Sometimes they remind us in ways we can't ignore. So if you ever find yourself camping far from the world, surrounded by nothing but trees and darkness, remember, there are visitors in the woods that are not human, and not all of them want to be found. The Miller's story became a warning, a secret passed down in hushed tones. Some mysteries, they learned, are best left undisturbed. Sometimes the answers are more terrifying than the questions. The legend of the vanishing campers grew within their family. A tale never told to outsiders, a shadow that lingered in their memories. It was a secret they carried in silence, a burden and a bond. The forest remains, unchanged and patient, waiting for the next story, the next visitor who dares to enter its depths. And every Independence Day, as the world celebrates with light and sound, the Millers remember the night the woods came alive, and the night they learned that not all fireworks are made by human hands. Some lights in the darkness are not fireworks at all, some are invitations, some are warnings, and some are reminders that the forest keeps its secrets, and sometimes it shares them with those who dare to listen. Our final story takes us to Harmony Creek, a picturesque and historic New England town, nestled among rolling hills and white-steepled churches. Harmony Creek is famous for its 4th of July parade, a tradition that has brought generations together for over 2 centuries. Every year, the streets fill with laughter, music, and the flutter of American flags as families gather to celebrate the nation's birthday in true small-town style. Among the crowd is David, a local historian and the parade marshal, who has always cherished this annual event. For David, the parade is more than just a celebration. It's a living connection to the town's past. But one year, as the festivities began, something happened that would change his view of Harmony Creek forever. As the parade wound its way past the old brick town hall, a building that has stood since the days of the Revolution, a sudden, inexplicable chill swept over David. The summer air, moments before warm and festive, turned icy. He shivered, glancing up at the sky as dark clouds gathered overhead, casting an eerie shadow over the celebration. Across the street, David's eyes were drawn to a family he'd never seen before. They stood perfectly still, dressed in authentic 18th century clothing, clothes so detailed and worn, they looked as if they'd stepped out of a faded painting. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow, and not a hint of joy touched their lips. Strangely, the rest of the crowd seemed to look right through them, laughing and cheering as if the somber family didn't exist. Only David seemed to notice their presence, and he felt a growing sense of unease as he met their sorrowful gaze. The little girl, her dress tattered and eyes wide with sadness, slowly raised her hand and pointed at the old town hall. The entire family turned to stare at the building, their faces etched with a grief that seemed centuries old. David felt the weight of their sorrow pressing down on him, as if he could hear their silent cries. Suddenly, the high school marching band faltered mid-song. The music dissolved into a jumble of confused notes, and the parade seemed to pause. A hush fell over the crowd, broken only by the sound of a woman quietly sobbing nearby. The joy of the day was replaced by a strange, heavy silence. David, compelled by a force he couldn't explain, stepped forward to approach the family. But just then a police officer's sharp whistle cut through the air, snapping him back to reality. He blinked, and in that instant, the mysterious family had vanished, leaving only the echo of their sadness behind. Troubled and unable to shake the encounter, David spent hours in the town archives that evening. There, he uncovered a faded entry in an old ledger. On July 4, 1778, a blacksmith, his wife, and their young daughter had died of smallpox. Their home, he realized with a chill, once stood exactly where he'd seen the family appear. Since that day, David learned, there have been whispered stories of a ghostly family appearing during the parade, forever reliving their final day, bound to the place where their lives ended in tragedy. Most people never notice them, but every year, as Harmony Creek celebrates, the past and present briefly intertwine. The experience left David changed. He never volunteered for the parade again, choosing instead to watch from a distance, haunted by what he'd seen and the knowledge that some stories are never truly over. Some ghosts, it seems, are bound to the day of their greatest sorrow, unable to move on while the world celebrates around them. The haunted parade route stands as a silent reminder that history lingers in the places we least expect. Sometimes the past wants to be seen, to be remembered, and to remind us that joy and sorrow often walk hand in hand. So if you ever feel a sudden chill during a celebration, or catch a glimpse of a blurry figure in the crowd, don't dismiss it too quickly. You might be witnessing the past reaching through, asking not to be forgotten. The parade in Harmony Creek continues each year, the music and laughter echoing down Main Street. But David, and a few others who have seen what lies beneath the surface, know the truth. The line between past and present is thinner than we think. Not all who gather on Main Street are there to celebrate. Some, like the ghostly family, are there to mourn, to remember, and to remind us of the stories that shaped the town. As fireworks light up the night sky and the crowd cheers, a few pause to place flowers at the old memorial, honoring those who came before, and the memories that refuse to fade. In Harmony Creek, some stories never fade. They linger in the air, in the stones of old buildings, and in the hearts of those who remember. The haunted parade route is more than a legend. It's a testament to the enduring power of memory and the way history sometimes walks beside us, just out of sight. That's the end of our chilling 4th of July special. From phantom fireworks to haunted woods and sorrowful ghosts, the strange and dark never take a holiday. If you have your own eerie Independence Day story, share it in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more journeys into the unknown. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, not all celebrations are what they seem. Happy 4th of July, and good night.